Paying a deposit is an extremely important part of buying a property. So in this video, I'm going to answer the most common questions clients ask when it comes to deposits. Will I lose my deposit? Now, isn't that a question every buyer asks? The answer? Well, it depends on whether or not contracts have been exchanged or not. If contracts are unexchanged, the buyer will not lose the deposit if they decide to withdraw their offer. However, the buyer risks somebody else buying the property. That's something, I'll go into a bit more detail later in this video. Now, if the buyer has exchanged contracts, but then decides to withdraw from the purchase during the cooling off period, they will lose 0.25% of the purchase price. So on a $600,000 house, the 10% deposit is $60,000, 0.25% is $1,500. If the buyer pays the full 10% deposit to the agent, but then withdraws during the cooling off period, they would only lose $1,500 and they will be refunded the $58,500. The advantage of exchanging contracts, though, is that no other offers can be accepted. At this point, the property is off the market. Therefore, if you're the buyer, you need to ask yourself this question: which will cause me more tears, losing the deposit or losing the house? You see, while ever contracts are unexchanged, the agent has the legal right to show the property to other buyers, and that can result in somebody else buying your property. The answer to that one is simple. Yes, absolutely pay the deposit. And the reason for that is, without a deposit being paid, contracts cannot be exchanged. No matter what anybody tells you, exchanging contracts is the only way to stop anyone else from buying the house you want. Real estate agents will not hold the property just because you've had an offer accepted. They won't even hold the property for you if you put down a deposit. For a contract to be exchanged, several things need to occur. A deposit needs to be paid by the purchaser to the real estate agency. 2 contracts need to be signed, one by the buyer, also known as the purchaser, and one by the seller, who is referred to as the vendor. The purchaser needs to authorize their legal representative to send the contract for exchange. So if you're the buyer, expect a call, email, or text from your legal representative asking you to authorize the exchange. This is very important and must be done. Once authorized by the buyer, the contract is then emailed to the vendor's legal representative, who will then exchange the contracts. The minimum deposit that must be paid is 0.25% of the purchase price. On a $600,000 property, the minimum deposit is $1,500. After contracts are exchanged on a residential property, the buyer will have 5 business days to pay the full 10% deposit, unless their legal representative instructs them differently. If the buyer doesn't have the full 10% deposit in cash, they may organise a deposit bond with their lender. All deposits are paid to the real estate agent. Ask them for their trust account details and do a bank transfer. If you're transferring the deposit by the internet or your bank's app, make sure your limit allows you to transfer a higher amount. Well, I hope that helps answer a few questions that you may have had about deposits and exchanging contracts. As you can see, there's a lot involved in buying a new property. Getting contracts exchanged is the most important part. Without it, a buyer can miss out on a property. Without the deposit, it's impossible to exchange contracts. So get that offer accepted, pay the minimum deposit as soon as possible. All right, and of course, if you have any other questions, please feel free to ask. All our contact details can be found on our website. All the best in your shopping for a new home.